Hey, how's it going, guys? It's your retro future boy, Ricky Summer here, and today I've come back in time to discuss yet another MechWarrior 5 AMA, and this time we're talking about the career mode and replayability. Listen, two topics that are right up my alley.
The future's not set. Together, we can fight for a brighter tomorrow. Join the resistance today.
So like I said, this AMA was focused on career and replayability. So one of the most asked questions was, can you play beyond the campaign? Once the campaign, the story is finished, does the game just end or can you keep playing? I'm very pleased to report that you can in fact keep playing. So the dev said the way it's going to work is once you complete the main story, the timeline is just going to lock. Time is going to stop advancing, you won't get any new events, world events, story events, and you'll just be able to play through procedural missions, just like you could throughout the rest of the campaign, just, you know, without the story missions sprinkled in. So you can keep living that dry, cool Merc Commander lifestyle. So it feels like this may play out in a similar fashion to the end of the campaign and the career mode from Harebrained Schemes' Battletech game, where you could, continue on with the Merc Company lifestyle after you've finished all the story missions. How interesting that gameplay is going to be without, constant feedback from the universe, I don't know. There's certainly some really cool potential for modders to throw in some extra goodies at the end of the campaign there, so I'm excited to see what we get with that. The next big question was, will every pilot we hire be unique or procedurally generated? And the answer to this actually surprised me. I was fully expecting all of our pilots, MechWarriors rather. They call them pilots, but they're actually MechWarriors. I had pre-prepared a handy guide if you're at all confused about the difference between a MechWarrior and a battle mech. So the answer to this question is there will actually be a core group of handcrafted MechWarriors in the game for you to hire. We're talking unique backgrounds, portraits, dialogue, etc. Now, I don't know how many of those handcrafted pilots there will be, but they did mention that once you've sort of seen them all, once you've run through them, then you're going to start getting procedural pilots. So that's nice. I think, that was a nice little surprise. I was fully expecting there was going to be 100% procedural, which I was fine with. But, we're actually going to get some characters, hopefully, and hopefully there's some really strong personalities amongst those handcrafted MechWarriors that really give the game some personality and some character. I'm all for that. Sliding on back to the campaign structure for a hot second, the next thing a lot of people asked was, is there going to be a New Game Plus? And their answer was, currently no, but they are exploring some potential for continuing the player's arc after the campaign. Now, does that just mean the fact that you can continue to play as a Merc Commander once the story missions are done? I kind of feel like no. I feel like they're possibly hinting at maybe DLC in the future, that, your story continues or something. I don't know. It was very vague, very unclear. But the takeaway there is, I guess they're thinking about continuing your story, whatever form that would take. And while we're on the subject of the story, a few people asked if there were going to be any choices or branching paths, and that was a hard no. There are no branching paths, no dialogue options. I don't think they specifically said no dialogue options, but that's what I interpreted. That's not really the scope of the game. They did suggest that there will be some characters, possibly like some main characters with actual personality on your Leopard, on the dropship, that you will talk to throughout the course of the campaign, throughout the course of the story missions, but you're not actually going to be interacting interactively with them, if you know what I mean. You'll be standing there talking to them potentially, but you won't be able to actually select dialogue options or do anything that influences their actions. They're just kind of there as set story characters to deliver unto you information and progress you through the story. And while we're speaking about the Leopard, unfortunately, they have confirmed that there will be no customization aboard the Leopard, no sort of management, nothing. You can't tweak anything, you can't change anything. The Leopard, your dropship, it's given to you as is, nothing changes. That's outside the scope of the game. It's not, like I said in my last video, it's not that deep of a game. It's not like Harebrained Schemes, Battletech, that's very much more a strategy management game, and it's much heavier on the management, where you can actually install different components into your dropship and fix it up, upgrade it. It's not that sort of game. Now let's shimmy on over to customization for a second. So someone asked if we're going to be able to name our Merc company and set a custom logo or insignia or a coat of arms, whatever you want to call it, for our Merc company. And the answer is yes, you will be able to name your Merc company. So presumably it starts out with a generic name and you'll be able to name it. Now they weren't specific on whether it's going to be like a type in the name or select from a bunch of words kind of thing. I don't know if the name of the merc company is ever voiced. This was not asked specifically and they didn't really go too in depth. People did press a little further on how deep the customization of the logo is going to be, and it seems like currently it's sorta a little bit up in the air, but at the very least it's going to function the way it does in Harebrained Schemes Battletech, in that you'll have like a set selection, a library of logos that you can choose from for your merc company. And on top of that, while they might not officially support you importing your own logo into the game, as far as they're concerned, to do so will be so trivial it won't be a problem. But they did confirm that they're not like recreating a paint program in the game so that you can create your own logo from scratch. They're not doing a Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Listen, have you seen that? They've actually created like Photoshop essentially inside the game so that you can customize it. It's ridiculous, dog. Continuing on with customization, someone asked if we're going to be able to name our pilots, our MechWarriors. And the answer to this like surprised the shit out of me. I was sure that this was something that they would do, and they very well may do it, but their response was, oh, we hadn't thought of that. What? I mean, the question was asked specifically from a YouTuber streamer perspective, so that you can name your MechWarriors after your subscribers. I'm like, how, in this day and age, how did they not think that people would want that? Look, I don't know, man, but they said that it's possible and it very well may be a thing, but it's unconfirmed as of now. It very much sounded like that was literally the first time they'd ever thought of doing that when someone asked that question. Ridiculous, but I hope that's a thing at release. I can't imagine it would be too big a deal to implement, but you know, I'm not a game developer, dog, but I would love to be able to rename my MechWarriors, especially if I do any videos on it. I want you guys in the comments to be in my lands with me on the battlefield. Yo! And the last question vis-a-vis customization is, can you change your own pilot name and call sign? And their answer was, there is no voiced player character, which I appreciate, that's fantastic. But they do have a set background, their lineage, their parents, it's set. And they said there's no reason for them to restrict naming the character, but they didn't actually confirm that you will be able to name it. So they seem to suggest customizing the name of the player character will probably be a thing, but that's unconfirmed as of yet, which is a little bit odd. But I mean, we don't know exactly how the campaign is going to be structured. We don't know the story. We don't know how deep it's going to be. It could just be you're running your merc company and then, oh, a story mission shows up, I guess I'll do it. Or it could be like a really engrossing, like Mass Effect epic. We don't know. Actually, I'm not sure which way I want to run it, you know? I'm such a huge fan of like a sandbox, just throw me into the Battletech universe and let me run my merc company kind of thing. I'm so into that, which is why I love the career mode in the Battletech game. That's my jam, especially because I wasn't super into the main story. I'm really into that, but yo, if it's like a deep, balls to the wall, like fully committed, engrossing story, I can't pass it up either. So again, like we have no knowledge. I don't know which way it's going to swing, but I'm excited to see what we end up with. I'm not sure I'm going to be too disappointed whichever way they swing it. Alright, then we go into the topic of reputation and the factions just a little bit, and someone asked if we're going to get blacklisted from working with certain factions, certain houses, if we piss them off enough. And they said like a soft yes. You will be able to get such bad reputation with a faction that they'll just stop selling high-tier equipment to you in their markets, and you're only going to get like the shittiest bargain basement jobs from them. But they're also very clear that they don't want you to ever get into a situation where you can't build your reputation back up with a faction. So it seems like maybe it might be difficult, it might be slow going, but if you do have rock bottom reputation with a faction, you will be able to do those shit kicker jobs, just get through them and raise your reputation to the point where, you know, you'll be in good standing again. So, you know, I think I'm okay with that. As much fun as it would be to have a no-win scenario with a faction, to piss them off to the point where you're essentially dead to them, I can fully understand their desire to not lock players off from content based on their choices in the game. Additionally, someone asked if we'll be able to play for the pirates, and they said they're not 100% sure on that, but it looks like we will be able to take missions from independents, including pirates. So if that means we're going to be able to get rep with an actual pirate faction per se, and get potentially special gear from them as a result, maybe through a black market or something, I don't know, but damn, that would be cool. At the very least, we will be able to run the odd mission for pirates and independents. Alright, let's pivot over to a little bit of career balance here. Let's talk about light mechs again, because you know I'm into the light and medium mechs, and someone asked, thankfully, if we will be able to use light mechs late game. And they said it depends on the situation. You're not going to be totally locked out of the ability to run light mechs. And I don't mean like physically, like it is now late game, you can't use light mechs anymore. I mean in the sense that the difficulty isn't going to scale to a point where light mechs become useless. They will still have their uses, and they cited a specific example that you could jump into a light mech yourself and scout and spot targets, pick targets for your heavies and assaults in the back as they come in and mow through the enemy. They said that would be a potentially very effective strategy, and it would be a lot of fun. So that, you know, that gives me hope. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of mission variety, though they didn't go too in depth into that. I get the sense that they're saving that for another AMA. So if that's correct, that there is a large variety of missions, I can see how there would be the potential for maybe, hey, this mission warrants a couple of lights or a couple of mediums, and maybe this mission over here is just our heavy boys. I'm excited to see how that plays out. You know, as long as I can still maybe every second mission or so field a couple of lights, or even just pop my own bad self in a Raven, the greatest light mech of all time, I think I'll be happy. And continuing on with career balance, someone asked if we're going to potentially get ourselves into a situation where we can lock ourselves out of missions, essentially, by losing a mission so many times that we essentially get stripped of assets and lose the ability to take on missions of that difficulty. And they said that the game is going to be a little bit smart in this regard. It's going to analyze your assets and the difficulty of missions around you, and if it gets to that point, the game will essentially take pity on you and start offering you easier missions. So I really like that. Again, as much fun as it would be to have this potential no-win scenario, the stakes of that would really get your blood pumping. I fully understand and totally appreciate the need to have the game just be a little bit forgiving and give you options. So it seems like maybe it would be difficult to lose a campaign outright. You know, they're still giving you tools to build yourself back up, which in that regard feels a little bit like Darkest Dungeon. You know, you can't really lose Darkest Dungeon, I don't think. There's no you lose screen, right? You can always go back to your estate and hire more guys and do some lowly missions to level them up and then tackle the harder missions again, right? So, yeah, I like that. I kind of appreciate that. But on the other hand, they did say that if you fail a story mission, that's a game over. So you have to do it again. The story missions do seem to be mandatory. You have to beat them. Makes sense. And lastly, I want to touch on co-op here. I'm not like super duper excited about co-op beyond the potential for just getting my friends who aren't really big MechWarrior fans into MechWarrior. I love indoctrinating them into my niche gaming interests. But there were some interesting points here. So it seems like there's not going to be any progression for the co-op players coming into your game. So let's say I'm hosting the game. You come into my game and you're just there to help me out. You're leveling up whichever MechWarrior you take control of. So you're helping my game out, but you don't take anything back to your game, which is a little bit disappointing. But I guess there's potentially a bit of a technical limitation there. Furthermore, what I found interesting is between missions, you don't just like get kicked out of the game. You come back to the leopard with me. So you can walk around the leopard, but you can't really interact with anything, and you don't have access to the mech lab. So all those decisions, customization, and which MechWarrior and which battle mech you're actually taking into the field, that's my decision. You're just there along for the ride, but I appreciate that it's not like an immersion breaking kind of like lobby system. It's not like, hey, let me bring you into my game. We finished our mission, now get out of here. It's, we finished the mission, now come back to my leopard, come back to home base, let's select the next mission. You're coming along with me throughout the universe, not just when we're out in the field. I appreciate that a great deal, and that goes a long way towards bringing my buddies into the universe as a whole, rather than just, you know, the action, the moment to moment of being in a mech. And there you go, Mech Warriors. This one was a little bit of a long one. There was a lot of information that really tickled my jimmies in this. I'm getting just a little bit more excited for the game again. Let me know what you think of this information in the comments below. But for the moment, thank you very much for watching. Taste the game, be excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time. Ricky Summer, out.